without how and without ascribing a meaning to it. That statement in Lum'at al-I'tiqad, Al-Hadi al-Sabil al-Rashad, page 6, shows us that we are to believe in that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed, to affirm the verse, to affirm the wording of the verse, and whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means by it, to attribute it to Him. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah in his book Al-I'tiqad, he said, by us affirming the ayat, we are affirming the existence of the attributes, but not defining them. Al-Qadr Ya'la said the same thing. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ, that means we affirm that this is an attribute. The word yadan or yad is an attribute. And it's different to the attribute of wajh or face. And that's different to the attribute of a'yun or ayn or eye. And that's different to the attribute. They're attributes, and we affirm that they exist and that they're true. And that's it. This is the position of not only Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, it's the position of Imam Muwafiquddin, it is the position of Al-Qadi Abu Ya'la, the elder, it is the position of Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, it is the position of the vast majority of the Ummah. Now some scholars do interpret and say that بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ could be referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, because the yad can sometimes be a reference to power in a linguistical sense in Arabic. That's true. That's true. But the vast majority of the early generations don't even talk about it. Because they say that there are two types of ayat. The muhkamat, which are ayat in which you know exactly what they mean. In which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't eat pork, don't drink blood, don't drink alcohol and take intoxicants. Surah Al-Ma'idah 5 Surah 90. Don't do these things. You have to know what that means, because it's attached to ahkam and hukm. But then there's a second set of ayat, mutashabihat, in which we are to have al-imanu bihi faqat. We have iman in it only, and that's our amal with it, is to have iman in it, and we go no further. Because here's the problem. If you go further than that, now you're doing tahdid, you're defining. Okay, where did you get the definition from? If you can't find it in the hadith, can't find it in the Qur'an, can't find it in the ijma', then you are guilty of either ta'atil or tashbih. You're guilty of either denying it or likening it with its creation. The best thing to do is نُؤْمِنُ بِهَا, we believe in it, وَنُصَدِّقُ بِهَا, we testify to it, لَا كَيْفُ وَلَا مَعْنَى, we don't attach any howness to it or any other meanings to it, we leave it as it is. And that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes. Yes?
My question to you is, currently I see many groups as they think as we are superior than others, and they hate each other. And is this permissible in Islam to hate others? And if permissible in what extent is it?
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Question is, when we see different groups, is it permitted for them to hate one another or to show enmity towards one another? Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. The answer to that is yes and no. No, you should not show enmity towards every individual within that group, but you should despise those beliefs. So the belief of Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian is, subhanallah, it's blameworthy. The belief that there's another prophet after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the Shia, the 12ers who believe the Quran is created, or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't be seen in the hereafter, although Allah said 10 times in the Quran that He will be, or that entrance into the paradise is by faith and deeds, like how Salafi or Ahl al-Hadith, how they believe, or the 3 Tawheeds. These type of things are clear, and we reject them. But every single person within that group we don't show harshness with, because there are some people who their first exposure to Islam may have been the Ahmadiyya. You know how many people that I've met that are from England, that are Middle Englanders, and their first exposure to Islam was the Ahmadiyya? So I sat down and met them and thought, okay, so what books did you read on Islam? Introduction to Ahmadiyya. Right, okay, and what other study classes did you go to? Oh, there's a beautiful man. His name was Mirza Tahir Ahmed. Oh, he teaches so beautifully. He's one of the khulafa of the Ahmadiyya. Okay, do you have any other friends? Yes, he's the Emir of the Midlands, and his name is such and such. Well, he's the head of the Ahmadiyya in the Midlands. So it's like all of the people that they know, that they hold in high regard, are from that group. So I have to think, how can I approach this person without making them become more stubborn towards that group that they're in, but at the same time being able to show that there's something wrong. And the best way that the ulama always did, like Imam Ahmad rahimahullah and others, is they would say, the people within your group or your organization are wrong. I know that you're a sincere person, and I know that you want what's best. But the people within your organization, the people within your group, they have done you wrong. So the ideas and the leadership organization within these groups, we do show harshness towards that. But the average everyday people within those groups, no. Because many of them aren't aware of that. How many Salafis are aware of Hamoud al-Tuwajiri's book in which he says that Adam and Allah look similar? Most of them aren't aware of that book. How many are aware of the 12er Shia's belief that Allah won't be seen in the hereafter from the 12er Shia? They don't know that. How many 12er Shia are aware that the 12er Shia believe that the Quran is created? They don't know that. How many of them know that they believe that entrance into the paradise is by faith and deeds, and that if you haven't been a 51% good Muslim, you could go to the fire and get cooked for a little while? They don't know that. So that's why we have to realize, now the higher echelons of their leadership, Khomeini, Khamenei, Tabatabai, Asku'i, these type of people, Murtada Mutahari, Muqtada al-Sadr, Ali al-Sistani, all these people, they know that what they're saying is completely false. And them, we show harshness towards. But the average everyday layman in Najaf or Basra or these different areas that come, Bahrain, and they say, we're Shia, we talk with them. We try to get to the bottom of what's wrong with them, and hopefully we can reach them. Yes? You asked two questions. There was the second one.
Yeah.
I missed the second one in your question. What was that one?
About
The marches and the protests. Thank you for reminding me. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. The question has to do with marches and protests. Are they permitted to do? I did not know about this issue. And I'd actually been on a few marches and a few protests just to look at it and see what is this spectacle about, what's going on. So I went to a few of them. And I saw people holding placards, bomb, bomb, USA. People shouting, Bin Laden is on his way. England, go to hell. UK, you will pay. I saw all these things. And the most outstanding thing that I noticed was the lack of salah at these events. And I was looking at my clock saying, I know Asr is coming soon. Didn't hear an adhan? Okay, I'll just go ahead and do it. And I'm shouting the adhan. I'm shouting the adhan above, bomb, bomb, USA. And it was very jarring because we made salah and completed it. After that, I went and looked back because I wanted to get some clarification on what the ulama said about this. And every fatwa that I found from the ulama on this topic linked those type of demonstrations to Marxism and socialism. All of those type of marches we find are linked to Marxism and socialism. And the ulama give a number of reasons why they denounce them. One is because of their link to Marxism and socialism and the chanting, and they said that the only type of speech like that with raised voices that should be done is salah or dhikr. Number two is the ulama say that they're wasting paper. And number three, they're delaying the salah. And number four, many of these people are laymen and they're not the ones to change government, and that they're not the ones to denounce munkar in this way. And so that's why the ulama have ruled against it. Muhammad Abdul Latif al-Subki, rahimahullah, and others just have denounced it. If one wants to change things, there's practical on-the-ground stuff that has to be done. Standing in front of the Israeli embassy, shouting, Khaybar, Khaybar, Ya Yahud, is going to bring the snipers on you. It's not going to bring positive political change. It's going to bring the Mossad to your house. If you want to change things properly, there are many ways it can be done. That's not one of them. The Prophet ﷺ, when the companions were held back in Mecca. The Muslims of Medina did not come to the border of Mecca near Dar al-Nadwa where the kuffar were and said, down, down Quraysh. The Prophet Muhammad is on his way. Big placards, or written in camel skin, pitch written on camel skin, holding it up. Islam is on its way. They didn't do that. So then what did they do? Well, we have to follow their practice. And that's the best way. Brother,
I just wanted to ask, what's the difference between Imam and Khalif? And was Yazid good or bad? Are we allowed to follow his teaching? Was he a Khalifa as well as the Imam?
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. When we're talking about Imam, there are different types of words for Imam. Sometimes when we refer to Imam, we are referring to the one that's leading the Salah in the masjid. That's one type of Imam. Then another type of Imam is the high-ranking alim, the badal, which the Prophet ﷺ said that there are 40 abdal in every age in Sham. And when one dies, they're replaced by another one. Imam Ahmed was one of those abdal. So in the time of the Khalifa Ma'mun, the ulama came to him and they said, let's remove Ma'mun. Because the ulama, they're the ones that bring in khilafah. They're the ones that bring it in, reduce it, stop it, bring it to an end. So when they came to Imam Ahmed and said, let's remove it, that meant that they had the power to do so. And that they were greater than him in order to remove him from office. And Imam Ahmed said, no, not yet. Not because he said, no, we don't have the power, but that now is not the time. So the highest ranking Imam, the faqih in this particular situation, is the alim, who is in charge, the Sheikh al-Islam, the badal, who is one of or in charge over the whole ummah, in which it's mentioned about him that there will appear at the beginning of every age one who will renew the deen. Now the mujaddid, the يبعث على رأس كل قرن من يجدد لها دينه. That hadith, that there shall be one who appears at the head of every age who will revive the deen. That hadith in Sahih al-Jami', because it says men, that means it could be either mufrad or jama'. It could be one or it could be several. So sometimes you'll have several abdal in one age, several shuyukh al-Islam in one age. Like Imam Ahmed and Imam Shafi'ii in the same age. Right? Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani and Imam Mukharrami, same age. Right? Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali and Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, rahimahullah, close to the same age. Right? Those are the abdal. The Khalifa is the office of the one put in charge of defending the borders of the ummah, disseminating and dishing out the zakah, dispatching the armies by the command of the ulama. The khilafah is brought about by three ways, according to the consensus mentioned by Imam al-Balbani in his Mukhtasar al-Ifadat. He says, quote, one is by a mashura and a meeting of Ahl al-Halli wal-Aqad, the meeting between the most senior scholars. One is that an existing khalifa gives the assurance that after he dies is to go to the next khalifa. The third is that someone takes over without possessing all the conditions of a khalifa, but because it's too dangerous to remove him, he is left in his place by the consideration of the ulama if they decide so. And there are different conditions of who is to be the khalifa. One is that he must be from Quraysh. Al-Khilafa fi Quraysh. The next question that you asked is, was Yazid considered upright and righteous, and what he did, is it something to be followed? Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Muslim Orthodoxy, they say that Yazid was not one of the Sahaba. He was not one of the companions. He committed great wickedness. He was involved in the death of Al-Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anh, and he killed not only just ulama, but just many people among the Sahaba and the companions. We don't accept his rule. We don't accept the things that he did as legitimate. And we know that he grasped power illegally. And it is something that is a reminder for Muslims the world over what happens when laymen who have not been blessed by the ulama come to power and rampage throughout the world, because his 4 to 5 years was some of the worst devastation we saw in the ummah. So much so that there was no salah in Jama'ah in Masjid al-Nabawi.